All right. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Young Professional Show. We're pretty fired up to be here this Monday morning because we have an interesting guest on a topic that we pretty much know nothing about. So it's going to be a lot of learning for all of us here. But we've been asked about to do it before day trading. Never something that I've done before. And so we got our good friend Shaq Tapales on, and he does a lot more than just day trading. Um, but from what I've seen, he's done pretty good stuff, and we're pretty excited to have him onto the show. Thank you guys so much for being here. Feel free to like and subscribe to this show on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify. And we look forward to bringing out some more episodes to you in the future. That's going to be fire content, real estate, and business related all together. Shaq, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me. I'm honored to be here. Like I said, I'm at my poker table, so this is pretty interesting.
Gotcha. Yeah, man, it's good to have you. So, just give us like a zoomed out version of your life. What has your life been like, and kind of your mindset going into any of the businesses that you've gotten into?
Yeah, I think it all starts. It starts with Rich Dad Poor Dad for like a lot of people, right? So
Yes.
I was working 9 to 5 jobs. I started as a janitor, cleaning dealerships and warehouses, and then it became a manager, and then at a Ashley's Furniture. So just working 9 to 5s, and then I realized like this is this is going to be me till I'm 65, and then I'm going to be with my wife finally when I'm 70, right? So I realized after reading Rich Dad Poor Dad, there had to be a better way to make more money in less amount of time. Like keep it simple.
Hmm.
So I started flipping iPhones and MacBooks. When I was 21 years old, my trunk would be full of like $10,000 worth of MacBooks and iPhones, and I just flipped them as I'm working my hourly jobs. And then when I worked at Apple repairing iPhones and everything, I ran into solar, and I realized like I can sell one deal and make 3 or 4K, then why don't I just do that? So I quit my safe, secure job at Apple with health benefits and everything, and took a leap. And ever since then, I just never looked back.
Yeah.
That is
Wh-
insane.
what age was that all at?
So Apple was 26 to 27, 28 years old. So I was there for 3 years. I'm
Yeah.
32 now. Um, so yeah, I mean, there were guys at Apple that worked there for 20 years, and I was like, it was like a nightmare. I was like, wait, you've been there for 20 years. You have all these accolades. It looks great. You have all the Apple stock you want, but you clock in and clock out just like me, and you're here on holidays just like me. And I'm pretty sure you want to be with your family. And I had to tell myself, I have to ask myself, like, do I want to live that life or not? And so since then, I started door knocking with solar. Like that was the hardest thing I've ever done. Well, trading is the hardest thing I've ever done, but door knocking was extremely hard. And thankfully, I got a few deals under my belt, and then I started building from there.
That's awesome. And you mentioned the book Rich Dad Poor Dad, which on pretty much all of the business and life related podcasts that I listen to, almost everyone says Rich Dad Poor Dad is the best
Yeah.
life coach book of all time, and I would attest to that.
Mhm.
Incredible book. Um, I just wanted to ask if there's people here that haven't listened to it or read it before. What would you say like the biggest idea or the biggest like eye opening thing that you got out of that book?
That's a great question. I mean, he's heavy in real estate, right? I think he lives here in
Mhm.
Arizona. So
Yeah.
he's all about real estate. So that kind of got me into wholesaling and trying to do wholesale real estate and everything. But the biggest thing was time versus money, right? I learned that his rich dad, right? His rich dad was the one making money, didn't have an education, really had a business, whatever. And then his poor dad had a good job, was a professor, but was scared of money, didn't know what to do with it, right? So my biggest lesson was how do I leverage my time to make more money? And that's when I realized I'm at Apple making 18.50 an hour. Granted, I got to go find a deal with solar, and it might take me all day or 2 or 3 days, but one deal covers what I make an entire month. So if I just spend 8 hours a day trying to find the next deal, I can triple, quadruple my income. The problem is that most people don't want to take the bet on themselves. There are too many times that I meet people that want to do what I do, or want to make more money, and they stop because they're afraid that they're not going to be able to make it, right? And every time I tell them get into sales, sell something, they're too afraid. Like even real estate, like it's not easy, right? Your competition's everywhere. But the book taught me that if you just take the risk, calculate it, and then understand time versus money, then your income is limitless at that point.
Yeah, I love that you touched on betting on yourself, and it's that is like the main theme of my life. And Jacob's on this trip with me too. Was
Awesome.
just like you got to bet on yourself, and I'm a firm believer that if you do, you will succeed at whatever it is that you're going into,
That's the
as
truth.
long as you bet on yourself and put in the time. Um, so tell me about what was the transition like from when you were making an hourly wage that you knew you were coming home with money to where you were like, okay, you know what? I'm leaving this hourly stuff behind. I'm ready to spread my wings and um, truly bet on myself by not taking home an hourly pay anymore. What was that transition like?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, it's scary, right? I think we grew up in a society where hourly, getting a safe job, go to school for 4 years, save all your money, play it safe, and that's just the norm. You know, my family's I'm Filipino. They moved from the Philippines to give me a better life, right? But my dad has worked the same job for 30 years, right? And I had to ask myself, like, is that really what I wanted? So when I accounted for like, okay, this can be the rest of my life making the same amount of money, or do I take the leap of faith? It like the answers were written on the wall. The biggest thing I can say is that I had my wife's was the biggest supporter. I remember the day I was quitting the job. We were at this small apartment in Tampa, Florida, and I was pacing back and forth. I'm like, what do I do? Like, do I just quit my job? And my wife said these like very crucial words to me. She said, "You're bigger than Apple." And I was like, what do you mean? Like, this is a $1 trillion company. Like, how am I bigger than Apple? But what she was meaning was is like I'm bigger than the job that I have. I'm bigger than what I'm offering Apple. I can actually do something for myself. And from that conversation, I went and gave my 2 weeks that day. I had managers telling me I'm making the biggest mistake. They were like taking me out to lunch saying because I was supposed to be like the next manager up, and they're all saying I made the stupid mistake, but they're all still working at that job. If they're happy, that's what matters. But I'm not there anymore, and so it was scary nonetheless. It was just absolutely frightening. But then you kind of get over it as time goes through.
That's incredible. So tell me about your journey through solar because that is strictly, a commission-based job. And so you mentioned door knocking, which is funny because we do that from time to time. Definitely something that we will be doing more. But like you said, it's terrible. It's one, it's so hard. Two, it's
Yeah.
so degrading, and three, it's just like um, it's one of those things where it's like people get up early and go to the gym in the morning because they want to get the hardest thing out of their day done. If
Yep.
I got up and door knocked every morning, I would be a superhuman being, I think, because it's so terrible.
It's true. It's
Tell me
true.
about some of your trials when door knocking.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, it was degrading at first. You know, I tucked my tail in between my legs and like kind of walked back to my car after I knocked just 3 doors and then like got cussed out the last one. So you kind of like it's a test of your grit at that point, right?
Mhm.
There are guys that go out and try to door knock, just like trading. People go and try to trade, but people go and try to door knock. They feel the fear. They feel like they're bothering these people. They feel like they're worth nothing. They're less because you're having to door knock and earn someone's business, and you have to face that feeling. And back then, I was 420 pounds. I can barely fit in my clothes, and I'm walking around in the heat in Florida, sweating, wobbling, and don't even know what I'm doing. Right? And I all I can remember is just telling myself, if I don't get through this, I'm going back to Apple, and those guys are all going to like make fun of me. And I was like, that's not going to happen. So I just kept knocking. And to be honest, most of my business didn't come from knocking. Once I sold 1 or 2 deals from knocking, I started working smarter, not harder in my mind. And I'd jump on Facebook. I'd start cold calling people, cold calling businesses, real estate agents, and trying to network. And that's where I really kicked off. Because, like you said, I don't like door knocking. You don't like door knocking. What's a better way to get leads, to generate leads, to get and close these leads, right? And I was like, social media. So I started posting everything that I did every day. I'm knocking. I close a deal. I'm with the customer. I take a picture with them, and people started catching on to what I was doing.
That's awesome. And I think that what you just said right there connects a lot to the people who do listen to the show, is because it's a younger crowd of realtors, but there are some other people in businesses as well. But it's like you say, a lot of people feel like cold calling and door knocking is maybe played out, maybe doesn't work as well in this day and age. Um, just because I think people too like get so uncomfortable when somebody comes to their door. Like 10 years ago, if somebody came to your door, it was like exciting. It was like a new adventure. Where
Right.
now it's like you make sure you got your pistol on you if someone knocks on your door.
Yeah, yeah, it's true.
But
I agree.
they switched to social media to have like an alternative source of business that also feels more relaxing and actually feels more personable too.
Right.
Um, and while we're on this, feel free. I want to hear give your Instagram, and I know you have a YouTube channel as well. So what are those links at?
Yeah, my Instagram is Shack MT, SHACKMT, and then the YouTube channel is the same thing, SHACKMT.
Okay.
Sweet. So tell us about your journey through YouTube and um, you know just going through from the early stages of YouTube where you feel like you don't even know why you're there to really getting into and enjoying the video making process.
Yeah, I think everything is just the same thing over and over again, right? So I go into solar, I don't know anything. It's all ambiguity. I don't have an inclination of what I'm doing, but I have to start somewhere. Same thing with YouTube. My wife, she has 6,000 subscribers and 60,000 on Instagram. She's more of the social media guru. I've learned a lot from her, but it's the consistency of posting and creating more content. And my goal with YouTube really is just to have transparency with my trades and people trusting me. If I were to sell a course in the future, which I plan on doing, I think people will buy more because they see me posting on YouTube and they see my face more often and they trust my name. So to me, social media, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook is my business card. It's no longer just like for me to talk to people. Everything like you two, I already checked you guys both out. I've seen what you guys do. And I know you're running a business, right? So you want people to look you up and say, oh, this dude's a real estate agent, right? And then he's also posting every single day. I trust what he says because he's not afraid to put his face on the camera. Too many times you have business people or people who are in entrepreneurship that don't want to post their face. And I'm like, why? Like, why don't you want to be on Instagram? Like when you're trying to run a business or you're a salesperson, well, it's maybe because you're shady. Maybe you're not trustworthy type person. So that's all I do is just post what I do to have more transparency and trust. I don't care about being, having millions of subscribers. I care more about people who run into me that want to do business with me, check out my name, and then check my socials.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I was watching some of your videos the other day and I noticed on some of the comments you had some like real fans who like want to follow your journey and they love following your journey. So I can definitely see the transparency there.
Yeah, it's pretty great. I mean, it's been not just like making money, it's been a journey of like changing me as a person, like as a man,
Mhm.
losing weight. I used to be a very like frantic person every single day, and I'm still not the greatest, but like I work every single day to be more calm, to be more focused. I
Mhm.
came from stuffing my face eating McDonald's every day to now trying to eat healthy and lose weight, but that also came with more income, right? So when people see me go through these phases, I guess it inspires them when really I'm not trying to inspire anyone. I'm just trying to do better every single day.
yeah. It's social media. If you take it from a creator's like perspective, it kind of gives you the ability to level up who you are as a human and it just naturally, I feel like, makes you do that. Like it can sometimes be uncomfortable shooting videos. You may not even like the video that you're posting. I do that sometimes. I'm like, I don't even want to post this, but um, I just do. I mean, because at the end of the day, I think it's like you said, it's just so important to be transparent. And I think in this day and age, um, people really want to see, like, they want to hear you talk, they want to hear you laugh, they want to hear your failures. They
Yep.
want to see you break your trends and mess up. And
Yep.
because we do, like, there's no perfect human being, and it's just more exciting to see your personality shine, and I think your business will just follow suit.
I hands down agree.
Good. So let's talk about day trading, because I literally have not even the slightest clue.
Well, what's the transition from solar to day trading then?
Yeah, wow, that's a loaded question, but I'll like sum it up really quick. So like from door knocking, I went into creating a sales org with door knocking setters, right? And then I would close the deal. From there, I then moved to Arizona off a whim. Like my wife and I sold everything within a week and moved to Arizona just because we didn't want to feel like we're going to stay in Florida the rest of our life. So I moved
Mhm.
to Arizona based on someone giving me a hope and a dream that I was supposed to work with them in this business in Arizona. I get to Arizona, it was all a lie. So I'm like starting from scratch in Arizona. So I start building relationships in Arizona with solar. Then I create a call center, and then I have a sales org, and then that business started growing, and I start selling solar within 3 states. What I found was that I was extremely unhappy making more money. I was up all night, stressed out, like freaking out because I'm managing a call center in the Philippines and here in the US. I'm managing 15 sales reps across 3 states. There's more money I've ever seen in my life going in and out that I don't even know how to handle. And my whole goal when I quit my job was to be with my wife, right? Like that's all I care about. Like I don't care about the money. I care about waking up every day, being with my wife, grabbing our coffee, and then doing whatever we want throughout the day, right? And it got to a point where I was about to sign a lease to have like an actual office space for my employees and everything. And then my wife and I talked. It was like, if I do this, we can kiss the next 3 years like goodbye. Like I'm just going to be working. And I said, like, we both agree, like, we'd rather be homeless under a bridge and be together than make millions of dollars and not be together. And I know that's different entrepreneurs will say differently, like Elon Musk and all these people. They go to the extreme, and I'm glad that they do because I drive a Tesla, right? So they do their thing, but like life is short in the most inspirational way. Like, why not make the decisions that make you happy? So at the climax, I had income within like 8 months. We did $280,000 for the business, like in income wise, and I decided to quit the business like cold turkey. I told everybody you can go over here make money with these people. My call center, I gave it to somebody else, and I said I want to day trade because during COVID is when I got into day trading
Mhm.
because no one was buying solar, and I decided to jump into it. And I got a PPP loan. I took like half of that, threw it into TD Ameritrade, and lost it all in like 3 minutes. And I like cried, like I was on the floor, like crying, like 4 grand disappeared in 4 minutes, and I was just stunned. And I still don't ever forget that moment today. In the course of those last 3 years, while having the solar business, I would jump on my phone, look at stocks, look at forex, look at cryptocurrencies. I would watch charts, even when I owned the business. I would just look at charts to get this repetitive pattern in my mind to understand what's happening. So finally, when we make all this money, I realized like trading can give me the ultimate freedom for the rest of my life. Does it sound crazy that I can click a few buttons in the morning, make a few $1,000s, and then go about my day? It does sound crazy, but I know people who do it. So then I have to ask myself, here I am back at Apple quitting my job. That's what it feels like. I'm about to walk away from a business that has generated the most income I've ever seen in my life and jump into one of the hardest industries that anyone could ever ask for. Like you lose money when you door knock. You don't lose money. You lose time and dignity. Like that's about it. You don't lose a dollar, right? You've still got your money in your pocket, but when you day trade and you're not careful, you can lose your shirt. So it's a completely different mindset. So that transition for the last 6 months has been the hardest 6 months of my life because it's all emotional. You know,
Mhm.
trading is a reflection of you, greed, FOMO, fear of missing out, and everyone thinks that it's just click a few buttons, you make money. When I can tell you, it is more than just clicking buttons. It is the hardest thing I've ever done.
That's awesome.
Wow. Okay, first of all, I want to go back and just say that's an incredible transition and an incredible reason to transition. And I love what you said about wanting to spend time with your wife and stuff. It's sad to say, but it's kind of like a rarity to have someone that's like so grounded the way you are and so humble the way you are. So that's really cool. And what you said there was trading is, I'm sorry, I forgot the words. You said trading is a representation of yourself.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's fascinating because the way you said like greed, you get greedy and you make the
Yeah,
wrong.
like you make it if it's in the beginning, I would make like $1,200 on my first trade, right?
Yeah,
And it's following what's set up. It's not me gambling anymore. It's funny because I'm sitting at a poker table, but like when you trade and you have a setup and you have rules, right? You follow those rules. When you don't have rules and you don't have probability on your side, you're gambling. That's why a lot of people say it's gambling. But in the beginning, I'd make $1,000 and then I'd see the next setup and I'd say, "Oh, I can make more money." Like, why am I not happy with the $1,000 I made in 5 minutes? You know what I mean? Like, that's absolutely insane, right? But that's the greed that's in me that I had to face. I had to face that I'm greedy. Like, I just there's not enough when you're trying to trade in the stock market, and the market will eat you alive if you don't respect it, right? And some guys they'll get a pull a mortgage out and they'll just freaking throw their money in there, and people think they're just gonna win when it doesn't work out. So it's been a reflection of me. It's made me look at myself. I'm not disciplined, even though I thought I was. I used to wake up every day at 4 o'clock and do my thing and run a business and handle multiple employees and everything. I still wasn't disciplined because when I got to trading, I still made mistakes. I still made stupid trades. And I'd ask myself, like, why am I doing this? Well, it's because I'm not disciplined. I'm not disciplined in my eating. I'm not disciplined in my workouts. I'm not disciplined in my thoughts. I'm not disciplined in my life in general. When you own a business and maybe you're even doing sales and real estate, you can like slack off in some areas, right? You can like make a few calls and go out about your day, have some lunch with some people, come back, make a few more calls, and then the next day you'll like hit it hard. Well, like in trading, if you're not on top of it in your psychology, in your mind and mental state, and you don't trust yourself, no one's making you click those buttons except for you. So when I click the buttons and I make mistakes, the only person I can blame is me, and that's the battle is every day you're facing yourself. Today I lost $1,000. I can get down on myself. I can get frustrated, which happened, and had to walk outside to like take a deep breath and understand that it's not my fault. I was just on the wrong side of probability,
Mhm.
and we move on to the next day. But when you're in real estate, like you're going to buy leads, you can lose some money in those leads, but you're never really just throwing $1,000 out the window. You're like making an investment in yourself to then hopefully produce more money. It's not like that in the stock market, or Forex is what I trade.
that is crazy. What a different life than so many people. I mean, that's so fascinating. So tell me about like the actual day-to-day business of somebody who is a full-time day trader.
Yeah, so I'm funny enough, I'm back into solar because
Okay.
my trading only my kill zone is what I call it. My trades that have the most probability of winning happen from 4 a.m. to 8 a.m. our time. So I'm up at 3:45. I'm at my desk by like 4:15, right? And I'm trading from 4 to 8. I'm looking for one setup, and sometimes that setup doesn't happen for 2 hours. So I'm literally sitting at the charts like this, like bored out of my mind and waiting. And then after 8 o'clock, I learned that I lose the most money. So I'm like, okay, let me stop trading after 8. So then I said to myself, like, what am I going to do the rest of my day? You know, and it got really bad because I didn't have a business anymore. I was working constantly. My phone would blow up all day long. So I was constantly busy. So I went from being extremely busy to having nothing to do. And that was the weirdest thing ever. So I told myself, I actually applied at a few of the like Ferrari dealerships here. I was like, okay, let me like sell Ferraris. I love cars. I have a Supra. Like, let me go sell some Ferraris. I had an interview, and then I was like, okay, now I'm about to go back to 9 to 5 and sell cars. Like, let me not do that. Solar is great, but I have like a little bit of a scar from it because they're I've been burned by some people in the solar industry. So I'm like, let me just stay away from solar. But I know solar very well, so I decided to let me get back into it. Once my day trading is making me X amount of dollars, I have a goal in my mind. I'll walk away from trading. I'll start selling my courses. I'll have a mentorship. And then I plan on doing Airbnbs. I have people that do Airbnb and everything like that. But that takes obviously time and effort to get to that point. So right now I work just because I cannot trade and think about trading all day long because then I'll fail.
Yeah, that's cool. That's really cool. And you're only 32. Um, so let me just ask, because you seem like the person that has a plan similar to the way Jacob and I plan everything out as well. Like, where do you see yourself when you're 40? Do you have it visualized out?
I have a board that has some generalization there, an X amount of dollars that I'd like to have in the bank account, and multiple properties, living in multiple places. But when I'm 40, what I really dream for myself is that my wife and I are helping people in the ways that we want to help. Like we plan on having like soup kitchens, and we've been to orphanages overseas. So like I hope to amass a lot of wealth to then like create ways to help the people that actually need it. In my 40s, I hope that I have all the time to do that. That my wife and I are at our soup kitchen, or we're at our halfway house, and we're spending time with the people who are hurting and that need love, right? Unfortunately, in this world, like loving people, it's got to be more than just giving them a hug and giving them some good words, right? There's got to be some monetary value, and giving them a shirt, giving them some money. So in my 40s, I hope to have that freedom to help as many people as we want, and that my wife and I are traveling. We actually don't want to live in a house. Like, it's probably the opposite to what a lot of people talk about, but we don't want to live in a house. I want to rent the rest of my life, not just because Grant Cardone said that, but like that's how I feel. We want to live in 3 states, Florida, Arizona, and California at the same time, renting a few apartments, and we travel back and forth. And we'll do that till we're old and probably buy a house by then. But we're just doing the opposite. So by 40, I don't want to look like anybody else. I don't want to look like all the other 40-year-olds. I want to like be completely different, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where do you think your like genuine love for people comes from? Because we've been around a lot of successful people before, and you don't feel the same way that like I feel when I'm talking to you. So where do you think that comes from?
Yeah, I had a strong, or I had a hard upbringing, I should say. So learning what real love is came hard, right? So once I found real love, and just to give an example of my wife, like when I was 420 pounds, my wife loved me. Like, she didn't like look at me like I was a monster. When I was 420 pounds, a lot of people looked at me like I was a monster. People made fun of me. But my wife to this day loves me the exact same way. And that opened my eyes to like what real love is. And I said to myself, what's more valuable, the Ferraris, the mansions, or the things that I can't buy, right? I can't buy love. I can't buy happiness. I can't buy peace. And once I kind of realized those things, I kind of let go of wanting to make as much money as I can and trying to find everyday peace and love. And my wife and I are Christians. We met at church. I played drums. She led worship. So I'm a Christian and I believe in Jesus. But at the same time, like in general terms, like people are hurting because I was hurting. I remember I was hurting, right? And I still face a lot of hurt and pain from my past. So I know that when I walk by somebody, they may be facing those same pains themselves. So there's got to be some compassion for them. So to answer your question, I think it's based on how I grew up. I went through a lot of pain, struggle, and understanding that I'm not alone. There are other people like me. That keeps me kind of grounded and not letting me like go off and chase things that don't even matter.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's incredible, and I think that's an incredible reminder for everyone who's listening, especially like when people have kind of the mindset that we do, and they have goals like that. It's easy to be blinded from that side of those types of goals. When you
Right.
have goals with money or business, it's easy to forget about those important goals too.
I agree. I agree. Look at Mr. Beast. Like Mr. Beast is the biggest example of it.
Yeah,
He like his first promotion, he's like, give me 10 grand. And they're like, what are you gonna do with your 10 grand? I'm gonna give it to a homeless guy. Right.
yeah,
And like that was his first video. And it was like unheard of, but he didn't care about the money, right? He genuinely wanted to help somebody. And ever since every time he keeps giving, he ends up getting more, right? So I believe, the more that my wife and I give in our life, spiritually, relationally, financially, then the more will come. I used to be the complete opposite. I used to be penny pincher. I used to be afraid to like shop at Target, like that was me. And I had to change my mindset and know that there's trillions and billions of dollars in this world, and that if I learn to just give more, then I have to believe that maybe some will come to me. And when I made that mindset, like things really has changed.
that's-
Wow. Wow. Yeah, we haven't had anybody on the podcast who thinks the way you do. So
yeah,
I appreciate it.
it's incredible. It really is.
Cool.
Yeah. You're in Arizona here?
I'm in Scottsdale.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Because you guys, you box together. Is that right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
we did.
do. I do real quick. I want to ask about boxing and working out and how that translates to your life and business.
Yeah, it's working out. It has been my like way to stay grounded to myself. You
Mhm.
know, I always mention, like I have multiple times, I got to 420 pounds. Like it's just as hard to lose weight as it is to gain 420 pounds, right? It's not easy to gain 420 pounds. That
Yeah.
takes years of eating and not working out and eating and not working out.
Mhm.
So when I stay active and punch a bag and decided to get into boxing, it's to combat the years that I like did the opposite. And it gives me some sense of confidence. And I think everybody talks about it, right? It gets their mind focused, you get a dopamine hit, you feel good, and you're
Yeah.
focused and you're ready to crush the day. That's cool. I agree with that. But like, I feel like in the long term, the consistency of doing that one thing keeps me grounded.
Mhm.
And right now, I've actually stopped. I'm on this weight loss program that actually saved my life called Optavia. You eat 5 meals a day, and it requires you to not work out for the first month. It's like the opposite. Like I want to go work out, but the meal plan requires me to not work out because I'm eating less. I'm in a calorie deficit, right?
Mhm.
But working out in general just makes you feel good and it keeps me grounded. So it's not really too deep. I want to get to like Jake. When I was boxing with you, you're freaking fast and you're fit and you're like good today. So
Yeah.
like I'll get there, but like boxing has definitely changed my life. Like it makes you, like you're pretending to fight this bag, but really I'm looking at my life and I'm punching through everything that I've been through. Right,
Yeah.
that's for me.
Yeah, I love that you just said that. Yeah, I truly have fallen in love with boxing, and it helps build confidence. 1% better every day. You're breaking habits. I think the biggest struggle for me is breaking those habits, and boxing is like just translates perfectly to that.
I agree, 100%.
Hmm.
Ugh, you guys make me want to try boxing.
I know it's such a good sport.
It
Yeah,
is. It
you
is.
hype it up all the time, and I it's the same. Even just like generally, just working out, getting up in the morning, going down, and just
Mhm.
doing it, pushing yourself through. Because there's like it's similar to door knocking. Is you could pick up your stuff and walk out if you really wanted to. But if you're thinking the way I think all three of us think, you have that other piece in your mind that's talking to you like, quit being a bitch. Like just like
Yeah.
you have
Right.
another set in you. Do it. Like
Yeah.
you can pick up a you're using 40-pound dumbbells, try 45.
Right.
Um, and I think that I'm sure there's plenty of stuff in boxing that kind of fits that mindset too, but it's just so powerful and it really does translate over to all the bad habits in your life
Hmm.
almost immediately for me.
I agree. Like David Goggins is always in my head. Like I think we all just kind of have a little David Goggins in us that like
Uh-huh.
says like get out there. But like with boxing, like you're obviously fighting. It's fight or flight, right? Like
Hmm.
when you're in a fight and you're in a ring with somebody, or like in an actual fight. I've only been in one or two in my life, and it's fight or flight. You know what I mean? You got to protect yourself, but you also have to attack, right? When you play basketball and you play other sports, it's different, right? It's a different type of feeling. But when you're boxing and you can get punched in the face, it's a different type of feeling,
Hmm.
and that's why boxing is like appealing to me because it's a reflection of my life. Like, okay, like am I gonna wake up and am I gonna like cower or am I gonna actually fight back? There are times when I'm afraid of life. I'm afraid to wake up. Like, what am I gonna do? Like, I'm overwhelmed, right? Like, there's so much going on. And when I box or when I shadow box, I visualize me attacking this fear and anxiety.
Yeah.
Uh,
Do you guys want to shout out the gym that you guys go to just if there's people out here that haven't started boxing yet and kind of want to?
yeah.
Good.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah, it's Pound Gym up in North Scottsdale. It's an incredible gym. Dwayne,
Yeah.
best trainer I've ever worked with.
Yeah. He's legit.
Yeah. He doesn't just help you with boxing skills, but with the confidence things. He helps me a lot with confidence too. He's incredible.
I agree.
Yeah, I've heard great things about him. I'm tempted to come up and try it sometime.
You should.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's free class, one free class. So just you can dip your toes in and see what it's like.
yeah, I'd be fascinating. I really I enjoy like MMA. I wrestled a little bit growing up and um, did a little bit of like jujitsu and kind of stuff like that, and it's very similar. But I
Right.
think like boxing and getting into that kind of stuff could be really addicting, but a good way.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm Filipino, so Manny Pacquiao was like my like idol growing up. So
Yeah.
that's really the only biggest reason why I got into boxing. So I still watch his fights almost every day. Like I'll replay them and watch him fight. So that's the biggest inspiration for the boxing.
That's cool. Are
Awesome.
you a UFC guy? Do you like the UFC?
I don't. I don't.
Really
It's
care
kind
for it.
of. I have friends that were in wrestling, and they would all have like cauliflower ears and stuff, and I'm like, "What's going on? Like, what do you guys do?" And it's
Yeah.
because they're all like rubbing their heads into each other, so it's kind of like weird to me. But it is a huge. It's a huge thing. I get it. It just was weird seeing people like with these ears all messed up from wrestling.
Yeah, I think if you were to get into a fight with somebody and they had cauliflower ear,
Yeah, you walk away.
walk
I'm
away.
running. Yeah.
Yeah,
Walk away. Never ever fight somebody with cauliflower ear.
yeah, that's so true. That's the truth.
Yeah, for sure. Well, Shaq, thank you so much for coming on here, man. I hope I get to meet you in person sometime 'cause you're a really cool guy.
Absolutely, that'd be great. Yeah.
But we really appreciate it. Everyone, go check out his YouTube channel and his Instagram. Learn more about him. Feel free to give him a DM, not to just call out your messages, but feel free to give him a DM if you have any questions. Because I think there's a lot to learn from you, from someone like you, too. It's rare. It's rare in a city like Scottsdale where everything's so um, money driven and high class driven that you see
Mhm.
people who are have just good values and are just good human beings. So props to
Oh,
you.
appreciate that. Thank you.
Yep, of course. Thank you. Everyone, thank you so much for listening. We appreciate you.